Hello there people, I hope you are keeping very well. Today I am back with another deck recipe for Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. Again, could probably be used in the main game as well. I must admit I'm not sure what the ban list differences are quite yet between the two, or that I just can't remember it because I've got a bit of a boomer brain about me. But either way, this one you can definitely use in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel as is, and could probably have some variances, you know, in other formats. But I really like Dragonmaids. Similar to my Speedroid deck, I never used Dragonmaids before because it was after my time, I guess you could say, with Yu-Gi-Oh! But now that I found them and built a deck and started playing with them, they are actually very easy to understand, which is quite good if you've never used a particular archetype before, and you soon start figuring out particular plays which are more optimal for your playstyle. And yeah, I really love Dragonmaids, and they also stand a chance against some of the pain in the backside decks. It's still not like top tier, but you can definitely get yourself out of some sticky situations with this deck for certain. So I guess let's get straight into it. As always, I'll start with monster effects first, then going into spells, traps, and the extra deck, although this time the extra deck will be a little bit easier to explain, considering you don't need half of it. Either way, let's get into it. So, first of all, Nurse Dragonmaid. Amazing card, amazing card. Quite simply, if this card is normal or special summoned, you can target one level 4 or lower Dragonmaid monster in your graveyard except Nurse Dragonmaid, special summon it. Quite simple like that. And the key thing to note with all of these Dragonmaid cards, in fact, is you can get their effects off, their initial effects anyway, from a normal summon or a special summon. So you don't have to worry about what you're trying to put in the grave to then resurrect later, thinking maybe the effect isn't going to pop off, because it will pop off. Unless your opponent stops you, of course. But yes, it doesn't matter what you put in the grave, Nurse Dragonmaid will reach it, will grab it if it's a level 4 or lower Dragonmaid monster, and you will get that effect, which works with another card I'll talk about later. The other thing I'll mention with Dragonmaids, super quickly actually, is all of the level 4 and lower Dragonmaids have a secondary effect, which will, once it goes into the battle phase, you would literally bring, for example, Nurse Dragonmaid back to your hand and then special summon its counterpart from either the graveyard or your hand. You can't special summon from the deck, that would be way too much overkill there. But yeah, what that means is you don't have to worry about putting all these high level dragons in the graveyard and losing it, because you're going to get them back with particular Dragonmaid effects. And so, yep, in the battle phase, you'll special summon, again, the counterpart out, and then when it's the end of the battle phase, the higher level dragons will go back to your hand, and you'll be able to special summon out, again, their counterpart back to the field. Meaning, if you haven't used the lower Dragonmaid's effect just yet for that turn, then you're going to get an extra effect at that point, and that's included in the opponent's turn, which is great. So that's the whole premise of the Dragonmaids, to get your, little Dragonmaids out onto the field and then get their big counterparts out for the battle phase, and just recycling effects quite constantly, and quite consistently, in fact. The other thing with Dragonmaids as well is it's a semi-forgiving deck. It is possible to make misplays and still end up with great card generation, depending at what point in your duel you're at. So definitely have a mess about with them first, after hearing what you see of my deck anyway, on hearing what I have to say. Sorry, you see with your eyes, you hear with your ears. I was about to say mouth there, you don't do that. But yes, that is the premise of the Dragonmaid deck. So now that we've gone into that, we've already gone into the first effect of Nurse Dragonmaid. The secondary effect is that you must special summon a level 7 Dragonmaid. So be wary of what you're putting in the graveyard. You wouldn't be able to bring out Tinkhec or Lorpar as their level 8 dragons. You'll be able to bring out I'm going to butcher these names, Nudyarl and Ernus, which is, you know, still great. There's only 100 attack points difference between the two. Same with defense, but you're not really going to shove these in defense unless you're really desperate. So yeah, they're all as good as each other, but just with other effects which we'll get into. So yes, the other thing with Nurse Dragonmaid is I would be inclined to say, see what your playstyle's like, because I want to try out 3 Nurse Dragonmaids and reduce Laundry Dragonmaids to 1. But I do like Laundry Dragonmaid's effect, which we're going to go into now, and you can then decide whether you want to try, you know, 3 and 1 or 2 and 2 each. So Laundry Dragonmaid's secondary effect is the same as the Nurse Dragonmaid, where you special summon at level 7 from either the hand or graveyard in the battle phase. But its effect is when it's normal or special summoned, you can send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. So what I like doing is, if you've got a fairly bad hand at the start, but you have one of these, it's an easy way to try and, yes, you've got to hope a little bit, but put some of these bigger monsters into the grave, or maybe even some of the other ones that you can then special summon later. There's also other things which are quite nice to try and put Dragonmaid Changeover in the graveyard, possibly even Return of the Dragon Lords, possibly even Dragonmaid Tidying. There's a load of secondary effects from these cards, same with Dragonmaid Welcome as well. So I really like that. From what I hear from some other Dragonmaid players, they don't like that effect, you know, that sort of luck factor. But at the same time, the odds are kind of with you to put something that you can use in the graveyard, which is what I like about this. Otherwise, like I say, you can swap out one of these for a 3rd Nurse Dragonmaid. But yeah, there we go. I run 2 of those. Next up, we do have an Ash Blossom. I only have one of these because I've only got one, and that's it. I will talk about what we could swap out in here for maybe another one. Same with God, what's it called? Call to the Grave. I always mess up the name of it, but there is another recommendation I would make, Called by the Grave. That's it, and I'll talk about that in a bit. Moving on, Kitchen Dragonmaid. I personally run 3 of these. I really like its effect. So when it's normal or special summoned, you can choose any Dragonmaid monster from your deck, add it to your hand, and then discard another Dragonmaid. So what you can do if you don't have any of the bigger beasties just yet is you can select one and then simply put it into the graveyard straight away. If you've literally only got this in your hand and start the recycling process, what I tend to do is drag out a level 8 either Tinkhec or Lorpar, put that in the graveyard, and it means when it hits the battle phase, then this can come to your hand, you special summon this, and then you would be able to bring Kitchen Dragonmaid back to the field to find another monster of your choice to then either put in the graveyard or to keep, depending on how varied your hand is. So yep, 3 of those. And speaking of the level 8s, why I mentioned level 8 is because you can only special summon a level 8 from the secondary effect here. That also goes for Parlor Dragonmaid. I run 3 of these. I didn't think it was a great card at first, but now I love the card, so I heavily recommend 3 of them. Its effect, when you're normal or special summon, is send any Dragonmaid card from your deck to the graveyard. So that also includes Dragonmaid Changeover, which you really want to try and get this as soon as possible, as long as you've got the optimal hand to use it anyway, which is a fusion. We'll talk more about it in a moment. But otherwise, again, similarly, if you're in a sticky situation and and this is the only card in your hand, you can dump a level 8 into the grave and then special summon that in the battle phase, and again, recycle the effects. There's then 3 Chamber Dragonmaids. I really like this card, and this one's got a bit of a unique effect compared to, well, maybe not a unique effect. Well, actually, yes it does. I'll explain more. It's the secondary effect. Either way, when this one is normal or special summoned, you can add 1 Dragonmaid spell or trap card from your deck to your hand. There is no penalty for that either. You don't have to discard anything else. You just take it, and that's that. Again, what you want to look for is either Dragonmaid Changeover or Dragonmaid Welcome if you know you're going to have 2 monsters out on the field. I'll explain a bit more about this card. And again, this is a card I love. Some Dragonmaid players aren't too fond of running too many of these, but I really like it. I'll explain why in a minute. Now, the secondary effect, the plus side is you can special summon a level 7 or a level 8 monster, so you've got the choice of either of these. However, this is the only Dragonmaid which is level 4, meaning you then can't special summon back into it. So choose wisely with you know, how you use her secondary effect, using it at the right moment and not just using it for the sake of it, because otherwise you could end up leaving your big monster out on the field for, you know, to run into your opponent's turn and then having it destroyed. I mean, it's again, it's not a biggie having the big monsters destroyed, but you want to try and bring out the big monster at an inconvenient way, not to let your opponent think, you know, on their turn of what to do, right? Especially right at the beginning of their turn. In the battle phase, that's where it gets annoying. So try and hold off for that. You'll see as you start playing this more and more. So again, 3 of those. Absolutely love just taking a spell or trap, a Dragonmaid spell or trap card. Then we run into Dragonmaid Ernus. What I would actually say, and it's only because I love pretty colours, but I would actually run 3 of these Dragonmaid Ernus and take Nudyarl out. It's got an interesting effect, I'll talk more about it, but Ernus in particular, it's a quick effect, so you can use this in the opponent's turn. While it's in the hand, you can discard this card and then special summon 1 level 4 or lower Dragonmaid monster from your hand. So again, it's that inconvenience factor. It's a way of getting a second Dragonmaid on to the field to again work with Dragonmaid Welcome, or maybe to combo into more sort of cascading effects really. So yeah, it's a super handy card. Super handy card. I would advise running 3 of them and not trying to have all the colours like I do. Again, that is a level 7 there. The other thing with the big beasties is they cannot be destroyed by card effects while you control a fusion monster. So bear that in mind depending on what your field is like, obviously if you've got a fusion monster out or not. Yep, and then with this you can get either Laundry or Nurse Dragonmaid back. Looking at Nudyarl's effect, you could discard this card, then target 1 monster in either graveyard, shuffle it into the deck. I'll be honest with you, I have not used that effect once. In my mind, I was thinking it could be good if there's a particularly stupid monster your opponent's playing that you want to just shove in the shove back into the deck instead of it being recycled from the graveyard. But I've not actually used that, and the problem with that is because it's not a quick effect either. So I hate to say it, but swap it out. I have actually special summoned all 4 colours at once in combination with having the big beastie out, which is a sight for sore eyes. That's literally the only plus in my mind. Tell me in the comments if your thoughts are different, however, and we'll have a discussion about it. I would love to discuss other Dragonmaid plays or combos that people have found or find, you know, off the back of this video. Then we've got 2 Dragonmaid Tinkhec. I actually love having 2 of these in. In Master Duel particularly, there's quite a few Blue Eyes, Chaos Max Dragon decks out there. And without having this reliably in your hand, it's actually fairly hard to get over a 4000 attacker monster that can't be destroyed by, or affected by card effects. I think that was... but yeah, definitely can't be destroyed by them at the least. And so you're then going to have to pump up your attack points, which this one, which is a quick effect, by the way. So again, even better having 2 of these. You can discard this card, then target 1 Dragonmaid monster you control. It gains 2000 attack. So it could be for the small Dragonmaids, could be for the big Dragonmaids, could be for your fusion Dragonmaids. So I really like this card. And you can then go into a level 3 Dragonmaid monster after that. Just don't do what I do as well and use... I literally did this yesterday while I was streaming. Use Dragonmaid Changeover and then accidentally chaining this effect to it. Don't do that. because then you've used up your fusion material monster. You want to use this as the fusion, not using this effect in chain with Dragonmaid Changeover. So yes, don't be silly like me. And then we've got 2 Dragonmaid Lorpar. Haven't used its effect very often, but you know what? It's a very consistent card you're going to be bringing out, because there's quite a few cards that can go into it. So Kitchen Dragonmaid, Parlor Dragonmaid, and Chamber Dragonmaid. So yeah, 2 of those, and its effect is you can discard this card from your hand, then target 1 face-up monster on the field. Players cannot activate that target's effects on the field this turn. So it can be quite useful, indeed. So that is it for the monsters. We've then got Raigeki, Harpie's Feather Duster. I mean, they're always good, aren't they? There are a few bouncing effects in this deck though, so depending, you might want to take this card here, Lightning Storm, out. I mean, this one's... In fact, you know what? I'm going to talk about this now. Lightning Storm, you could possibly take out and trade for either another Ash Blossom or the Called by the Grave card, because it's quite often you're going to have something face up on the field, whether it be a continuous card or at least one of your monsters that has been sort of bouncing back and forth and your opponent has just had to kind of leave it. So yes, this is great beginning of the game, but unless your opponent nukes your field, it can actually get in the way slightly. So be careful if you use this exact card. I would again either put Call by the Grave or Ash Blossom in there. Harpies, I mean, that's always nice to have anyway, to be fair, but maybe you want to change that. Return of the Dragon Lords, this is another card you could possibly change if you like. Target 1 level 7 or 8 Dragon Monster in your graveyard, special summon it. The secondary effect is if it's in the graveyard, you know, from something like Laundry Dragonmaid, then if a dragon monster you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. This can be used in combination with Dragonmaid Hospitality, which we'll talk about now. Special summon 1 Dragonmaid monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position. From the hand, it might sound like, well, why do I want to do that? But actually, with the recycling effects, you might want to swarm the board, or you might bring Dragonmaid Hospitality back into your hand again. So actually, it's a really, really good effect, especially if you're you've got lots of funky things to do at once, like you've got Parlor Dragonmaid and Chamber Dragonmaid in your hand. Then you might want to special summon. Oh, be careful what you special summon, by the way. So, Dragonmaid Hospitality, if you can, try not to use it on Chamber Dragonmaid unless it's really going to be helpful for you, because the secondary effect here is then you can send 1 Dragonmaid monster with the same attribute but a different level from your deck to the graveyard. There are no dark attribute monsters or level 7 and 8 Dragonmaid monsters that you can send from your deck to the graveyard. So again, using the example I had earlier, if you had the choice of, you know, normal summoning either Chamber Dragonmaid or Parlor Dragonmaid, you'd want to normal summon Chamber Dragonmaid and then use Dragonmaid Hospitality to special summon the other card you have in your hand to not only get their effect off at a standard, but you can bring their corresponding card into the graveyard. So for example, Parlor Dragonmaid, you'd get Dragonmaid Lorpar. Actually, that's one thing. If you're running Dragonmaid, Laundry Dragonmaid, but then do take this one out, you won't be able to use the secondary effect of Dragonmaid Hospitality because you don't have one of a different level. But then again, you might go to 1 Laundry Dragonmaid and it's not going to be the end of the world. You just use your discretion from there to then normal summon Laundry Dragonmaid and use a special summon on something else, you know. So yeah, something to bear in mind. I use 3 of these in the deck. You can only use 1 Dragonmaid Hospitality per turn though, which is why I talk about using it in combination with Return of the Dragon Lords. You've then got 3 Dragonmaid Changeover. Once you've got one of these, it's very rare that you would need the rest, but it's super good to have in your hand. So let's go through the effect. Fusion summon 1 Dragon Fusion monster from your extra deck. using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material. While this card is in your graveyard, you can target one Dragonmaid monster you control, add this card to your hand, and if you do, return that monster to the hand. You can only use this effect of Dragonmaid Changeover once per turn. So you can do the fusion part as many times as you like if you have multiple ones, but you can only bring it back to your hand once per turn. And again, depending on your field, you'd be able to use this effect to bounce one of your lovely Dragonmaids that you want to keep, you know, nice and close to your heart, ready for another turn somewhere else, and then bring this back to your hand. So, you know, it sounds like you're putting yourself at a disadvantage, but like I say, you can actually end up playing quite a few cards at once if you play the deck right. We'll talk about what you'd want to fuse into. I'm going to say it straight away. You usually want to go into Sheou straight away, but we'll talk more about that later. And you'll notice there's only 2 types of Dragonmaid fusion that I've got. There are only 2 types of Dragonmaid fusion, period, but there's no other dragons that I have in the fusion deck, just because of Pot of Prosperity, and we'll talk about that now. So 2 pots of prosperity. These are commonly used in Master Duel, but they're really good here, especially as you only really need the 2 types of fusion monster. And I usually wipe out these link monsters. I literally have no use for them. There is one particular link monster you can use in this deck. I think it was Helios something or other. We'll search for it in a moment. But it's not really needed. Same with the Exceed monsters, but I'll talk about that in a minute. Either way, there's 2 pots in there, so you can either mill 6 and 3, or you can mill 3 and then mill 3 later and then still have your Exceeds if you want to, or link monsters for your choice. I'll leave that to your discretion as what you'd like to use there. Dragonmaid Welcome. Love this card. Absolutely love this card. So all monsters you control gain 100 attack and defense for each Dragonmaid monster you control. Doesn't sound like much, but it does start ramping up, especially once you have these bigger beasties out, and it brings them to the 3000 to get over most monsters, or at least collide with them. But also the optional effect. If you control 2 or more Dragonmaid monsters, you can target one Dragonmaid card in your graveyard, except Dragonmaid Welcome, add it to your hand. You can only use this effect Dragonmaid Welcome once per turn, but obviously otherwise that's going to be stupidly broken, isn't it? And then, if this card is sent to the graveyard, your opponent cannot target Dragonmaid monsters you control with card effects this turn. So that's a nice little side effect that you can either pop off with Laundry Dragonmaid if you're lucky to do that. But yeah, the big recycling structure is really good. So again, you can end up using Dragonmaid Hospitality to special summon your second Dragonmaid to the field. Put Dragonmaid Welcome down, use it to get Dragonmaid Hospitality back again. Same with Dragonmaid Changeover if you really didn't want to bounce that monster back to your hand. Or bring one of these back, Dragonmaid Tidying. Love this card, we'll explain more about that soon. But yeah, 2 of these. I think 3 is probably going to be a bit overkill, could give you a bit of a dead hand. But there we go. There's then also one Dragonmaid Send-Off. I've had mixed feelings about this card. I'd probably say you can actually trade this one out with again a Dragged by the Grave or another Ash Blossom, but its effect, it's not an awful effect or anything. Target one Dragonmaid monster you control, special summon one Dragonmaid monster with a different name from your hand in defense position, and if you do, return that targeted monster to the hand. A special summon monster cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects until the end of the next turn. You can only activate one Dragonmaid Send-Off per turn. So, excuse me. So the thing here which is annoying is putting the monster into defense mode. At least you can't be destroyed if you special summon one of the bigger monsters out. Well, even if you special summon out one of the other ones, it's fine. But yeah, it's more of a timing thing, and it can seem like a dead card sometimes. But try it out and see how you are. It is a reaction to your opponent's effects. Usually you wouldn't be just popping it off left, right and centre in your own turn from your own effect. But hey, maybe I just suck at using Dragonmaid Send-Off. See how you feel when you use it. Something that doesn't suck at all is Dragonmaid Tidying. 3 of these, without a doubt. At first I was like, I'll I'll use 2 of them. It's a pretty cool effect. And then I started recycling it quite regularly with Dragonmaid Welcome, and it can end up locking the opponent depending on the state of play. It's not a true lock or anything like that, like Yatagarasu. But Dragonmaid Tidying, let's go through the effects. It's got 2 effects, which again is super, super good. Target 1 Dragonmaid monster you control and 1 card your opponent controls or in their graveyard. Return them to the hand. You can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon 1 Dragonmaid monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position, but return it to the hand during the end phase. You can only use 1 Dragonmaid Tidying effect per turn and only once that turn. So if you were to use the quick effect of you know, bouncing your opponent's monster and then hoping to special summon in the same turn, you cannot do that, and that's caught me out a couple of times. You know, you can't use both effects at once. But however, even if you've, you know, got a couple of these in your hand, still set both of them, because you can then use 1 in your opponent's turn and 1 in your own turn if you really wanted to. So yes, excuse me. I think it's a really, really key card, like Dragonmaid Changeover, maybe slightly less than Dragonmaid Changeover because of, you know, fusing the big beasties, which we'll go through soon. But that bouncing effect is super good, you know, waiting for your opponent to go into Link Summoning or Exceed, Synchro Summoning. And I used this literally yesterday on stream, which was, you know, with this big hype in Synchro monsters. Now, like, there's talk of the Synchro event coming out. They've changed the, what's it called? The starter packs you can go for. Not starter packs, it's the ones you can shop for. You know, there's the master pack and then there's Speedy something or other. So people are getting a lot more of these Synchro monsters. And some of this stuff in the graveyard that they then try to chain effects to, whether it be using the monster in the graveyard or effect in the graveyard, or something on the field that then targets graveyard, you can just mess up their hand. Mess up their play. And then again, Dragonmaid Welcome, bring it back to your hand, set it again, let them have their turn, and then, you know, keep on bouncing, keep on bouncing. And then the second effect, I must admit, I'm not a fan of using it, only because it does banish the card, so you then can't recycle it with Dragonmaid Welcome. But super good, especially if you're going to try and go for game, or at least try and have, you know, a few monsters on the field that you want to start popping effects off. Yeah, special summon 1 Dragonmaid monster. It could be any of these from your hand or graveyard in defense position. Yes, the defense position sucks, but it's that special summoning aspect from the graveyard, and stuff that doesn't affect your field, which is quite nice. So yeah, 3 of those. And then we've got a Solemn Judgment. Solemn Judgment is Solemn Judgment, but again, there is the possibility of changing this card out depending, because we then talk about the big beastie, Dragonmaid Sheou, which is it's a one-time negate card, and you can constantly bring it out. Let's go through the effect. So you have to use 1 Dragonmaid monster and 1 level 5 or higher dragon monster. So bear in mind you've got to at least have 1 of the big beasties in your hand. You can either fuse 2 of these or 1 of these and 1 of the lower level versions. During each standby phase, you can special summon 1 level 9 or lower Dragonmaid monster from your hand or graveyard. This is great because what it means is whatever you've fused and put into the graveyard, you're going to special summon it again. And do think carefully, don't go straight for the big beastie, although yes, these can't be destroyed while there is a fusion monster on, while a fusion monster is on the field. But you might want to pop off one of these effects again, you know, or special summon Nurse Dragonmaid in your opponent's turn, to then special summon something else out from the graveyard, and get all these sort of weird and wacky effects. So yes, do not feel, you know, disheartened that you've had to use material for Dragonmaid Changeover. You will be getting those monsters back. And then, when your opponent activates a card or effect, quick effect, you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. Also, after that, return this card to the extra deck, and if you do, special summon 1 House Dragonmaid from your extra deck. You can only use each effect of Dragonmaid Sheou once per turn. So bear in mind, yes, you can fusion summon 3 of these out, but you can only use the negate effect once per turn, and then the other two could potentially be sitting ducks. So, but be careful how you use it. And then its secondary effect, so yes, once you've used the negate effect, this must return to the extra deck, and you've got to bring a House Dragonmaid out. I've got 2 in here, because I've only got 2, but this still works out fine. I haven't had a need for 3 House Dragonmaids at all. So, you know, if you're like me and don't have all the cards, you know, getting 2 of these is fine. 3 of these I would say is more important, but you can still get away with using 2 if you wanted to. But yes, let's look at House Dragonmaid super quick. So again, 1 Dragonmaid monster, but then also 1 Dragon monster. So you can fuse this with 2 of the lower level Dragonmaids if you wanted to. Once per turn during the standby phase, you can target 1 other Dragonmaid monster you control, special summon 1 Dragonmaid monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position whose level is 1 higher or 1 lower than it. So if you're in the fortunate position to have 2 of these out, you know, a Sheou and a House Dragonmaid, then you can choose to special summon, you know, as long as you've got variants, so a level 4 and then a level, a level 3 and then a level 4, then you know, you can special summon one of these and you then use the House Dragonmaid effect to bring out the other one. You're better off special summoning a level 3 from the grave, so that you've got the choice of going into level 4 or level 2 from House Dragonmaid's effect. So yeah, be careful of the whatever way around you use these effects. Excuse me. So the other effect here is when another face-up dragon monster you control returns to your hand, except during the damage step, you can target 1 monster your opponent controls, destroy it. So there is so much bouncing here. You're using Dragonmaid Tidying to bounce one of your monsters back, and then you can pop a monster. I think, was it a monster? Yeah, target 1 monster your opponent controls and destroy it. So yeah, you're getting a 2-for-1 deal there. Again, this also works for the effect of when the little Dragonmaids turn into the big Dragonmaids and vice versa. And notice this says when another face-up dragon monster you control returns to your hand. So it's not restricted. You can use that effect constantly, which is amazing. So do not overlook House Dragonmaid. Do not look at it if it's just a weaker version, like, oh, this is the plan B of Sheou. It is still a really, really good card. So, other than that, not a lot to say here really. I have put a level 2 and a level 3 Exceed in just in case you can do an Exceed summon and then go into Zeus if you wanted to. I haven't done it yet because the Dragonmaids actually run really well just by their own core, which is great. But the option is there. And as I touched on earlier, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Link monsters. Let's have a quick look at that other one I was talking about. Gosh, what was it? It was one of the Heraldic, I think. No. I'll know it once we get it up. It's probably not Helios. No. So, there is this Link monster. Whoops, wrong way round. Could have sworn I pressed this. So, you might want to use it. I don't own one, so I haven't tried it out yet. But again, this deck has been super consistent, regardless. So, Link, it is... No, okay, fine. It's definitely a Link. Am I just... No cards, search that found your... Oh, there we go. I was wondering what's going on here. So... It is... I know it's an ultra rare, without a shadow of a doubt. See, look at... I've got so much I'm missing. I need to grind these gems. Boom. Let's go to... Dragon. I think it was a light monster. Ah, this is the one. Yes, cool. Hieratic. That's it. That's it. Hieratic Seal of the Heavenly Spheres. So the fact that this has a quick effect of you contribute 1 monster from your hand or field and return 1 face-up card on the field to the hand. If this card is distributed, special summon 1 dragon monster from your hand or deck and make its attack defense 0. Which is fine, because the attack and defense being 0 isn't a problem, because you're swapping out your Dragonmaids constantly anyway. But also the bounce effect to work with House Dragonmaid is extremely good too, and having that bounce effect is just annoying in general. But like I said, I've been doing extremely well without it anyway. That's really the only other suggestion I have to make here. Again, you can use whatever Link and Exceed monsters you want. You might not want these ones. Again, I've just kind of used random ones because, you know, inventory. Plus, I'm not fully aware of all the great Link monsters right yet, or just yet. But that is the Dragonmaid deck. So again, super consistent, super easy to get used to once you play with it a little bit, just like any sort of archetype. And yeah, I want you to have fun. So let me know how you get on if you are able to construct a deck very similar to this, your own experience with Dragonmaids, as well as I can't even speak, as well as any other comments or thoughts that you have, and I will respond to you. So thank you very much, everyone. Again, enjoy, you take care, and I will see you again soon. Have a good one, everyone.